I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year.
And you're seeing something that's interesting. So I can live with it one way or the other. I've always liked one really powerful thing, and that's called...
Well, XRP, and I sometimes have to remind the world of this, but XRP is at the heart and soul of what Ripple is doing.
Because crypto, that seems to be a threat to the dollar, doesn't it?
They try to shake me out, but I was born ready. Dropping down the price, then I be getting plenty. They want all your bags and they want all them empty.
Money coming equals liquidity rules. 20 trillion en route. You better be ready for this. But first we start off with the boom. Welcome back to some more Moon O'Clock news and some more extra bullishness. And as always, nothing in this video is financial or investment advice. Please always do your own research. CNBC is now pointing to the XRP and HBAR ETFs possibly launching within the next few months. Boom.
Crypto, Nate, similar to the push to market we're seeing in IPOs, you're seeing a lot of what you call a boatload of crypto ETF filings. What does that mean, and how does that differ from what we've seen in the past?
Well, it's interesting because the three major stock exchanges, so NYSE, NASDAQ, and CBOE, they have all filed with the SEC for generic listing standards for crypto ETFs, which basically means that the exchanges wouldn't need to seek specific approval for each spot crypto ETF as long as it meets certain criteria. So this would streamline the approval process. And that's important because right now there are filings out there from multiple issuers for XRP ETFs, Solana ETFs, Cardano, HBAR. We could go on down the list, but there are a boatload of filings out there. And the expectation is that the standardized crypto framework will be implemented, say, in the next 2 months or so. And so if and when that happens, I think you're going to see the floodgates open. We're going to see a wave of approvals, and you're going to see, again, a boatload of new crypto ETFs coming to market.
Trending Bitcoin Treasury Secretary, crypto is not a threat to the dollar. Digital assets are one of the most important phenomena in the world right now. Lock in.
There's a new book called King Dollar. A journalist who's followed Treasury for about 40 years.
Yeah.
And he talks about every time there was a narrative that the US was going to lose reserve currency status, why it's never happened. And
because crypto, that seems to be a threat to the dollar, doesn't it?
I think it's the opposite.
Oh, really?
I think stable coins could reinforce dollar supremacy, because with stable coins could end up being one of the largest buyers of US treasuries or T-bills. So all of a sudden, if you are using a stable coin in Nigeria that's backed by the US dollar, you don't actually have to have dollars. It's on your phone. You can transact. So I think there's a very good chance that crypto is actually one of the things that locks in dollar supremacy.
And is that why it was crucial that Donald Trump get involved in crypto rather than trying to constrain it like Joe Biden was?
I think constrain's too mild a word. I think make it extinct. So this administration's commitment to digital assets, it's innovation, because there's so many other things that happen around digital assets. And also, it's one of those things that it's one of the most important phenomena that's happening in the world, and the US just ignored it.
Chris Larson says, proud to be an investor in Yellow as they integrate with the XRP Ledger EVM sidechain. Yellow says, we recently integrated with the XRP Ledger EVM sidechain. Why? To unlock real-world asset liquidity across blockchains. Our off-chain high-speed clearing tech taps into XRPL secure EVM, Yellow, XRPL, EVM. We also got Dennis. The XRP Ledger smart contract feature is now available for developers to explore and test on AlphaNet. Dedicated developer network. This groundbreaking implementation brings native layer 1 smart contract capabilities to the XRPL, combining the familiar design patterns of the EVM style contracts with the power of the XRPL's native features and transactions. Bottoms up smart contracts on XRPLs. AlphaNet, North Star, RizXRP, Brad, Garland House.
Well, XRP, and I sometimes have to remind the world of this, but XRP is at the heart and soul of what Ripple is doing. We care deeply. We have called it our North Star. But at the end of the day, we want to do things that are good for the XRP ecosystem. We want to build trust in XRP. We want to build utility in XRP. And we want to build liquidity in XRP. And each of the acquisitions we do, in one way or another, we believe it will do those things. Now, it may not be, some people may look at it and be like, I don't really, scratch their head a little bit. Well, I promise you that we see in the three-dimensional game of chess, we see how we believe that's going to evolve. Sometimes we'll probably do things that are more obvious and some less obvious. That's okay with us.
Right. There might be.
One of the advantages of being private is I don't always have to explain myself to public investors.
Got a couple more from XAIF Crypto, Bitwise CEO. The death of an ETF is apathy, and that's not XRP.
ETF would outperform the Sol one that we just spoke about.
I think it'll be a huge product. There's a ton of interest in XRP, my colleague Matt Hogan, our CIO, likes to say that the death of an ETF is apathy. And apathy is certainly not one of the elements of XRP. There's a lot of energy and interest and enthusiasm. So I think, there's $100+ trillion that live on traditional rails. And more of that is migrating on-chain. But nevertheless, there's $100 trillion there. An ETF is often the first time that much of those assets can tap into exposure to an asset. And I think if they have the opportunity to have exposure to and trade XRP, it'll be a very useful and high demand product.
Crypto.com CEO says an XRP ETF could pull in up to $8 billion in the first year. He's already projecting it. You better be ready for this.
Next couple of years, I think altcoins that have strong flows will outperform. I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year. So you can imagine what kind of impact that may have. And in terms of what we're doing, I think we have a very clear, differentiated, exciting strategy that nobody else is pursuing and nobody else can compete with us on. That's very unique. So we will build it, and I hope you guys join along for the ride.
President Trump says many people are embracing Bitcoin, and he's seeing more and more people wanting to pay it. Bitcoin.
China obviously has its own push in the Chinese digital currency. But isn't the next logical step for you to embrace Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin obviously is decentralized. The government can't get its hands on it. What about Bitcoin with all the young people, including African Americans, who are very interested in it?
Well, a lot of people are doing it. I always liked one currency. I call it a currency. I like the dollar. But a lot of people are doing it. And frankly, it's taken a life of its own. You probably have to do some regulation, as you know. But many people are embracing it. And more I'm seeing people wanting to pay Bitcoin. And you're seeing something that's interesting. So I can live with it one way or the other. I've always liked one really powerful thing, and that's called the dollar.
Yeah. Bitcoin wasn't built for payments, but XRP is. Mr. Matt XRP, former New York Federal Reserve, formerly of the Ripple, speaks on XRP. The announcement is coming soon.
The cyclical distortions associated with those rigidities are less detrimental for the economy. Increased real price rigidity because exchange rates cannot adjust would intensify the volatility of global business cycles. And Fed policy will have a greater effect on foreign economic growth with greater dollarization, increasing business cycle synchronization. Whether this phenomenon would matter for the US, and not just for countries that dollarize a portion of their economies, remains speculative. America's capital markets are the world's deepest, helping to support economic growth, fund new ideas, and allocate capital efficiently. However, our financial infrastructure, not unlike our physical infrastructure, could use a reboot. Stablecoins may well lead the way on this, facilitating dollar holdings and payments domestically and abroad. While there has been extensive research on the topic since the advent of stablecoins a decade ago, the scope for rapid increases in issuance makes it now even more imperative to consider what widespread adoption of stablecoins may mean for monetary policy, both in the United States and abroad.
More money, liquidity rules. $20 trillion could be injected into the U.S. economy by the end of 2025. Rate cut in December. QT finally ending. QE starting soon. Now this.
Investing in America, $20 trillion. No country's ever done anywhere even near that, like a fraction of that. Biden did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. I did 20 trillion. We're going to do over 17 trillion in 8 months. By the time we end, we could do over $20 trillion. There's never, in China, no matter where you go, there's never been anything like it. We are building up something that's unbelievable. And a big part of that are the tariffs, because they don't want to have to pay the tariffs, because it's so unsustainable that they come and build the pharmaceuticals and the chips and all of the things. They're coming into the United States and they're building them. It's a miracle what's happening. We are building the greatest country in the world, economically, greater than we've ever been before.
Appreciate you stopping by, tuning in for another Moon O'Clock News update. Good glitches. Please always do your own research. Check the links in the description. Smash them likeies and subscribies on the way out. We'll see you at the tippy top. Later, glitches.
Later, glitcher. Can you take me with you when we blow up? Can you take me with you when we blow up? When we